Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another special episode of Boobies and Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today marks the day 10 in the 12 days of Boobsmas. We are just days away from Santa's big day, but we've still got plenty more reviews, guests, and giveaways to get through. Not to mention the rest of our Naughty Boobsmas countdown jingle, thanks to the fabulous Cooper Baldwin. And joining me today for the 10th dose of boobiness is longtime friend, former roommate, and soon-to-be bride, Michelle Jace. Welcome back to the show, Michelle.
Hi, I'm excited to be back.
Yes, I know. And you are actually our first returner to the show.
What an honor. I didn't
so
know
exciting.
That.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because a lot of people who have done it have said, okay, well, when are we going again? When do we read the next one? But you're my first returning guest.
Oh, I feel so honored and special.
As you should.
Well, I said the same thing too. I was like, when are we doing the next one?
Yeah.
So here we
Well, and so the reason I have Michelle back, she was featured previously in our Where Have All the Cowboys Gone episode with her sister Megan.
By the way, we still don't know where they went.
No, we're still looking. We're still on the lookout. And I was especially eager to have her back for the holiday special because today we're discussing another Kate Pearce story. And that was something you had mentioned on the show when we had done Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, is you were interested to read something more recent from Kate Pearce because that was actually like her first or second novel. She even told us so on Twitter.
That's so... I love how interactive she is with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like... It's so easy for people who are, at an elevated status. They're an author, an artist, or something, and for them to just ignore, And I love that she's totally with you on this journey of podcasting.
I love her. And you know what? It's so funny, too, because, we love reading these books. We aren't always the most complimentary of these books. But honestly, all the authors we've interacted with have just been so sweet, and you can tell that some of them actually listen to them. I'm like, oh, great. I love it. I love your work, So it's really great that especially the author community is just so involved with their fans.
I can't imagine that you would say anything that a publicist or an editor or someone would have already said, I mean, and nothing's perfect.
No,
I mean,
and more often than not, it's personal taste.
Exactly.
It's one thing for me to say, oh, you know what? I didn't find that sexy. It's not my kink. It's probably somebody else's.
I bet somebody else is eating that up.
Yeah. Oh.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, they're eating it.
I made a little innuendo there, and I did not mean to, so there's your Christmas present.
Ooh, yeah. Wrap it up tight. Sorry, Michelle's had a glass of wine. I have zero excuses for my behavior. So before we get started with the book itself, we will have to talk about the holidays because this is a holiday-themed episode. So with previous guests, we've talked about favorite family recipes, traditions, and so I thought first I would ask you the same thing. What is one of your favorite holiday traditions or memories?
Okay, so this is something we've done at every Christmas since I existed. My family's Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, don't you know? So they're Canadian, you see. And, well, the Canadians, they came from Scotland and other parts of the UK. And so something that we've always done, we've always had the little Christmas poppers, the Christmas crackers.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know what that is, it's this little... It kind of looks like a really big Tootsie Roll. Yeah. And it's got two sides, and in the middle there's a bunch of little goodies in there. And typically it's put on each person's plate. So when the table's set, it's there. And before you start your meal, and if you're religious, you might pray first, and then everybody pops their popper. And so they pull the ends, And inside, there's typically a joke. It's usually a terrible joke. Like, it's so bad that it's funny, right?
Right.
Because everybody's
it's part of the fun.
Exactly. And then most people have probably had a couple glasses of wine.
So it's really funny.
Hilarious. And there's also a toy. There's usually a toy in there, and that could be anything between, like, a little tiny itty-bitty 6-piece, like, jigsaw puzzle, a bunch of little shapes, and they, like, make different things, or, you know, little a spinning top or something
that cost a penny to manufacture.
Exactly. And then, this is the best part, there is a paper hat inside. And this paper hat, it kind of looks like a crown, I guess, but they're all different colors. And you are pretty much expected to wear your hat.
Absolutely.
Through the whole dinner. And they rip and, you know, they fall off.
Because it's like the thickness of tissue paper.
It is. It's tissue paper. And they fall in your food. It's a whole thing. So I always thought everyone did that. Because, you know, that's what we did every single Christmas. And that's just how it was. And I just thought that was a thing. And what I didn't know, my mom told me, apparently a while ago you couldn't get those poppers here in the States.
Okay.
So my grandma would have our cousins from Toronto mail enough for our entire family in California. But now you can find them in stores, especially places like World Market or whatever. You can find them in some stores now here.
Is this like a Canadian tradition or a Scottish tradition?
It's actually more of a British kind of thing. But, you know, you're making the hybrid. The island. And, and I think a lot of Canadians do it too. But it's definitely a British thing for sure. Like, that's where it came from. But I thought everyone did it. And then one day at school, I mentioned, like, the paper hat, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy.
Like, why are you putting paper hats on?
Exactly.
Really drunk.
And we still do it. And we still wear our hats.
And it's not just Christmas, because I came to Easter this year, and I had a popper, and it was my first popping experience.
I mean, anytime we have an excuse to wear a terrible paper hat, we do. The color never actually matches your outfit either. So
that's the best part. Yeah, you end up with orange.
Right.
Which nobody needs.
Nobody needs an orange tissue paper hat.
No.
But Christmas magic.
There you go. Fate would deliver.
Exactly.
So in terms of being a teacher, do you have any holiday activities or traditions you do with your students?
Well, actually, Santa is coming to class tomorrow.
How exciting!
I know. We have, I teach preschool special ed, so it's a whole other level, and I love it. They're my little friends. And this guy has made like not a living, but he's made this persona of being Santa.
Oh, I love it.
So he'll be Santa in parades. Oh. He's Santa at nursing homes.
He's just the go-to local Santa.
Exactly. And so what he does is he knows this teacher that I am next door to.
Yeah.
And he comes to our school site and he visits all 5 preschool classrooms.
Oh, individually?
Mm-hmm.
That's so sweet.
He comes in with his wife, who's usually dressed as either an elf or Mrs. Claus.
I love it.
And they bring a little toy for every single kid.
Okay, that's fantastic, because that's really going out of your way.
And last year they were these cute little stuffed dogs. The year before they were little teddy bears.
Oh.
And I mean, think about how many kids, because in preschool we have a morning class and an afternoon class because they don't go all day. So in the special ed rooms, we don't have that many students. We usually have around maybe 10 per class.
Right.
So maybe 20 total if
if
our classes are full.
Yeah.
Right? You know, but the general ed preschool classes, the state preschool classes, they have 24 in each class. So that's 48 kids in 2 classrooms. That's already almost 100 kids.
And they're bringing presents out of the goodness of their heart, out of their money, I'm assuming, like to buy these presents.
And I'm sure they find them bulk somewhere, but that's not the point. I mean,
that's so sweet.
It's just such a wonderful thing that they do because, again, I work in an area that is very high poverty rate, very high foster rate, all of those things. And so you never know what a kid is going through at home. Yeah. So to have Santa come to your classroom
and bring you a present.
I mean, it's amazing. It's and some of them are scared of him, I have to say.
Well, and you know what? As a kid, I'm a I'm amazed more people aren't afraid of Santa. Like, with just the idea of it, oh yeah, we let this strange man with a beard come down our chimney into our home when everyone is sleeping and bring you presents.
But just one night a year.
Just one.
If another man did that, there'd be a lot of sirens outside.
And a lawsuit.
Exactly.
Oh no, but that's super sweet.
I know that's not like a project, but I think that's one of my favorite things. That
you look forward to it.
The kids just, I mean,
yeah.
their faces are, I mean, they're so amazed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, and it reminds you that you don't have to do a ton to make a difference in someone's life, especially during the holidays. Like, that's a great reminder for everyone to take home. Before Michelle and I get down to doing our review, please check out this promo for Boozy Movies.
Welcome to Boozy Movies, movie reviews with a little booze. Each week, we get inebriated and opinionated, taking shots at one film, both literally and figuratively. Listen to Boozy Movies at boozymovies.com, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to join the conversation in our Facebook group, Boozy Movies Drinking Buddies. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Boozy Movies Pod.
Tonight, we're talking about An Unexpected Gift by Kate Pearce. Ooh, and today's reading selection comes from a recent released holiday anthology, A Season to Celebrate, which features 4 holiday novellas, including An Unexpected Gift. This book was published in October of this year, 2018, and is available on Amazon, $6.99 Kindle edition. And I'll also mention we will be reviewing all 4 stories from this novel for the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We already finished one anthology series, and now we've got a second one.
How exciting.
So many holiday novellas.
Well, I will be the first, well, probably not the first, but I will be here to say that I didn't even know that holiday novellas were a thing, and that they came in a, like, book of, like, a collection of dirty holiday stories.
And you know what? Sometimes they sometimes they come on their own. Sometimes, because we're reading a few more that are published by themselves. We're reading a couple Christmas novels. So we've got the whole range of goodies. And your pre-read questions are a little different because normally I ask people, have you ever read a romance novel before? And I already know that, yes, you have.
I have because of you.
Yes. So you have read Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Also by Kate Pearce. And if anybody missed that episode, you should go listen to it because there are dirty sexual encounters in the manger. And there are, is it a horse or a cow that they like watch have sex? Horses.
I think it's a horse.
Yeah. Cows would not be as, I mean, neither of them are sexy, but cows would be even less sexy, I feel like.
Like bells in my head. That's the sound a cow makes when they're, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's her, she gets upset about like not having the right style of jeans at like the country store.
Right, because she knew she was going to a ranch and she did not pack a single pair of jeans.
So anyway, that's your preview for Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?
Right.
And the reason we're telling you that is because the story we're discussing today is also by the same author. And these were published at completely different times in her career. Where Have All the Cowboys Gone was very early on. And the one we're going to be discussing today comes from this year, this October. So let me give you the Amazon synopsis so everybody can be on board with what we will be discussing today. And it goes something like this. Widower Billy Morgan wishes his grown children still needed him. Good thing his longtime friend Bella does. She's planning her son's Christmas wedding, and Billy is happy to help. Along the way, they just might discover their own occasion to celebrate. It's brief, to the point, quick, simple.
It's funny that it says holiday wedding because the son is already married.
Right.
It's
their late reception because they got married in Vegas and nobody was invited to like go to the wedding. Yeah, this is actually, in fact, there's a couple things in the synopsis that throw me off too, because there's also the part about Billy saying Billy wishes his grown children needed him, but I feel like throughout the story, he's kind of distancing himself from his children, and then they're the ones saying, no, you're welcome. We want you here. We want you to work the farm with us. We want you to do these things. You're the one that's stepping back from it.
There's a part kind of at the beginning about, I forget which son it is. I want to say maybe Jace. He's running over some ideas in the books with him, and Billy says, well, you're the one that manages it, or have you talked to Ruth, who is Billy's mom, so Chase's grandma?
Right.
I think. And the son keeps saying, well, Dad, it's your ranch.
Right.
You own it.
Yeah.
You own it.
I'm talking to you about it.
I'm running it by you because you are the owner. And he keeps going on and on about, well, yes, maybe my name's on the paper.
But it's not really mine.
I wasn't here. Ruth is the heart and soul of the ranch.
Because it all goes back that when Billy was younger, he left his family. And I wasn't quite clear about the order of events. It has something to do with his wife and daughter. Like, his wife had a baby girl, and they, took off and disappeared. And there was something about how Billy went to prison for a year.
So here's what I gathered.
Okay, because I'm still a little confused.
Kate Pearce, please let us know if we have this very wrong.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, one of those conversations with Billy and Bella.
Yeah, Billy and Bella. BB.
The BBs. So they're kind of in this dick measuring contest about who has done the worst things to their family. And
that's actually a great way to put it. It's like, my life is worse than yours. I did worse things than you did.
And apparently, but I don't even remember what the mistake is that Bella made, but she keeps rehashing it about.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? It was about how she let her husband at the time, so Jay's dad, drive to go get him, but there was
even
rain,
though and I think he'd had a drink or two or something. Yeah. And he died.
So she blames that on him, and then the rest of the life events she went through somehow have to do with that.
Right.
And Billy keeps so what I understand, this is the order of events that I seem to have
hit me with it.
Understood here. So Alice, I think, was Billy's wife's name.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't even know.
And then
I just called her wife.
Daughter.
Yeah.
And I guess she was his wife was just kind of, I don't want to say crazy, but she had some demons that needed to be either medically or something addressed.
Right.
They needed to be addressed with a professional. And they weren't, and she, tried to throw a knife at him or something.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part.
And then, they just disappeared.
Yeah.
With the daughter, but somehow not the sons. So
yeah, she just took the daughter with her.
I don't quite understand, I guess she must have disappeared after they had all their children, because there's no mention about another woman having children with him.
Right, I'm pretty sure the boys are older.
Okay. And then after that, he was an alcoholic, and he made a bunch of bad choices, and he distanced himself and all this stuff.
And he left his boys to be raised by their grandma.
Right. And then he was in prison for a year.
But that's my question is, why was he in jail?
I assume it had something to do with drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
Or maybe he was drunk and he did something stupid while he was drunk.
So I totally misread this part then. Because here's my thing. And I have this about the prison thing, and I have this about his age and everybody's age in this book. It felt like Kate Pearce would give us a little something, and then it's almost like she was thinking, oh, you know what? I don't know if that's clear enough. Let me put in a little bit more. And I'd be like,
yes.
Oh, okay, it's this now. And then I'd get a little bit more, and I'd be like, oh, okay, wait, no. Because when they said his wife and daughter had, mysteriously or tragically disappeared, I was like, oh my God, they were murdered and cut into pieces.
You thought it was an abduction.
I did. And then I thought, because then he talks about how he went to prison for a year. And I was like, oh my God, did they think it was him and he was locked up? And then they realized she had escaped with the baby. And so I was just so I still don't know if that's what it was or why he was in jail.
Something about that. I think there was I remember something about how Bella didn't think that he was the horrible man that, like, the town thought he was.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like,
it was odd.
You know, as small towns are.
Mm-hmm. Everyone knows everything. There may have been
rumors that he did something to them and
sure.
You know, I don't know. But yeah, that was kind of...
It was a little, I wasn't sure if that's where, because I feel like they were mentioned around the same time in the book of, like, him going to jail and her disappearing. I thought the wife was dead for, like, 90% of the story. And then he and Bella talk about how, oh, no, you're not the bad guy. Your wife is the one that abandoned her children and took off with her baby. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, that's what's interesting about it is that Billy as a character... He is so stuck in the fact of what he did in the past that he can't seem to bring himself back to just being
right
in his family anymore.
Yeah.
And they have multiple conversations about how, but that's what's weird too, is Bella is almost excusing his reaction and his behavior of being this alcoholic and being in prison, like, oh, well, she did that to you.
Yeah.
You're a horrible ex, you know, and so it's so interesting.
It's so far in the past, too. That was the other thing with that.
It wasn't like a year ago. It was a long time.
Yeah, because when you meet them, you're kind of not sure how old either of them are. And then you find out that they knew each other in kindergarten, and they're like, yeah, that was like 40-something years ago. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, so these people are like, you know, middle-aged, both have grown children, great. Then you find out they're even older than that. They're in, like, their early to mid-50s.
Yes. They have adult children.
Which I honestly love. I feel like there's not enough romances about that age range.
I really loved it, too. And you know what I loved is at the beginning, like, some of their first intimate encounters are very... teenagery.
Yes!
Like, they were finding themselves again at 50 because, you know, they're like, oh, am I going, was that too much?
Right.
I don't know. You know what, let's just kiss and say goodnight.
They talk to their friends and, like, kids about, like, do you think it's okay if I ask her this? Or, you know, is it too forward if I do this? Like, it's like learning to fall in love again.
Yes, and I thought that was really charming, and
Same.
I think especially in our society, we have such a stigma about, you know, only young, beautiful people get to find the romance of the century.
Right.
And these are two people who are, well, they're described as good looking, but they're in their 50s and have adult children.
And they've both already had, like, the one kind of thing. And it's sort of a story of realizing it's okay for you to have had this love and not necessarily forget it or compare your new love to it, but also embrace having this new love in your life and this new part of your life. And it's very charming. It's charming
and I'm sure as somebody reading it who is the age of the characters, I bet they get even more from it.
Yeah.
You know, we're in our 20s and we're going, oh, how cute, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really think that is a great representation of reality.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about romance novels is I think, now that because I'm the seasoned expert.
You've read two by the same author.
I'm flicking my hair for those of you that can't see me. But what I think is such a funny thing is romance novels have this stigma about, like, oh, they're so unrealistic.
Right, it's all fantasy.
It's all fantasy. And I mean, to an extent, some probably are, and some definitely are.
Oh, yeah.
But intimacy is something that every single person eventually either they want or they've experienced, or have decided that it's something that they don't want. But intimacy is such a human experience. And some of these things, what I'm realizing, though, is that a lot of these romance novels are not that far-fetched. They're not that out of control.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And it's interesting that they have such a stigma because when you talk about reality, oh, that book was so realistic, that movie was so real. I mean, these feelings and these relations are real too.
Yeah, everyone experiences these ideas and these emotions and these themes. Like,
so it's weird for a book to be about someone's love story and include these realistic interactions.
Right.
And for people to go, you know, that's
just fluff.
Dirty. That's fluff. It's, oh, why would you read that?
No, it's real characters. It's real stories. And this one especially, though, you're right. And I really, one of the things I do like about their relationship that they have in this is it's less of, I feel like, a traditional relationship. Like, because they're at this stage in their life, they kind of have this teenage aspect to it. But then there's also kind of like, we've known each other forever. We've both already been married, had kids. I mean, he even says, he proposes to her at the end, but he even says like, hey, you know what? We don't have to get married. Like, people are going to understand, you know, we're at that age. It's fine if we're just like together. Right. You know, they go from being friends to, you know, making out and hooking up. And then like, I don't know. They also work together sometimes and it's like super chill. But yeah, I really liked it. It really was less, here's the steps to falling in love. It was more of a, this is just kind of like what, you know, we just fell into this relationship and it just sort of looks like this.
Well, I think that happens to a lot of people. I mean, I've known my fiance since we were little kids.
Yeah.
And we, you know, my family moved and we didn't talk for 10, 15 years. And one day I was still up in college working on my bachelor's and he just sent me a message out of the blue. And said, hey, what are you doing? What's up? And I said, oh, hey, you know, we talked for a while. And then I said, why don't we get together when I come home for summer?
Yeah.
And that was it. You know, I think...
Brown chicka, wow, wow.
I really think, you know, like, I think that might be what is unrealistic about some romance novels is the way that they fall in love.
Yeah.
I have to say, I didn't care for some of the writing, I guess, in this story, but the fact that it wasn't this straight line, it was more of a, you know, there's so many aspects to your life, especially when you're, you know, you have kids and they're adults and they're getting married and they're getting jobs and they're moving away.
It was a lot of push-pull, give-take. I mean, you're right. It was a lot of back and forth, which I did like, although sometimes it drove me a little nuts because it got to the point where you're like, you know, we've gotten past the will they or won't they sort of thing, like, because you already did. And, but yeah, so I'm with you. Because for me, it was Billy that would slow things down a lot. Like, I found Bella...
I agree.
Bella was actually more of, like, the dominatrix personality, like, of the two of them. Like, she would initiate the first kiss, and she, like, kind of would touch his hand and everything, and when they do hook up for the first time, I mean, he caters to her. It's all about her.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. But like for him, I like, and it might just be me. He was like somebody that I would never be attracted to because I was just like, he just was so in the past and just whatever, if she had any doubts or anything, he would just be like, okay. Like, no problem, no discussion whatsoever. Right. Just sort of like, okay, that's fine. Like, so I just kind of got the feeling like, okay, well, maybe you're not ready for this. You know, like, maybe this is not what you should be doing.
There's definitely a difference between having a discussion and pushing someone past their comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And I got the vibe that maybe he didn't know the difference.
Yeah. Well, we don't know because he didn't try, like, with either way. I mean,
it worked out because he proposes. But,
yeah. It's definitely refreshing, too, because you will read a lot of romance novels where it's like, oh, come on, like, it's okay. You know, sort of, that get, like, a little rapey vibes, you know? And so this one, I was like, okay, he's a genuinely nice guy. Great. Although it's funny, he always was like, she said the line about, he's not like the monster people think. I'm like, who here is acting like he is a monster? Like, everyone loves this guy. Yeah. He does so many nice things for everyone else.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just that small town rumor kind of monster that, you know, she's talking about. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting how he almost has, like, no fight in him. Like, he's theoretically just kind of laying down and letting whatever rolls over him roll over him, you know? And if I was Bella, I don't know that I wouldn't
find it attractive.
No.
I would feel like he's not invested or like he's not as interested as like I am.
There's a difference between showing an effort and making things uncomfortable and being inappropriate.
Right.
And that is so important. I'm not saying that, you know, oh, he shouldn't do that, you know. Us women love it when, you know, guys don't listen to a single thing we say.
Right. But like in these books, usually, not always, but usually the men tend to have a more like alpha personality. Like, because I think that's a typical fantasy of women is more of like a, not even like more of a take charge kind of thing. Like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make this all happen for you sort of thing. And which everybody always feels guilty about admitting, but it's fine. It's there.
Right.
And he definitely, I don't know. I just didn't know what to do with him. I was like, I don't know if you're friends. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because he loves her so much. I mean, he proposes, and every conversation he has with another person who isn't her is pretty much about how much he loves her and how he
admires
feels about
her, respects her, yeah.
But it's weird because if she one day just turned around and said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
He would go, okay. And, you know, it's
true.
It makes you wonder, does he really love her? Or
right.
is he so beaten down because of his past
that
he has no fight in him? You know? And it's definitely an interesting dynamic. But again, you know, they've lived full lives already.
Absolutely.
They're in their 50s and they've got another, you know, 40 or 50 more
to go. Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? I mean, we're being critical of that aspect, but at the same time, how many love stories, I'm talking books, movies, real life, everything. How many love stories that are popular revolve around people that age?
Oh, I know. I immediately was like thinking. How can we
compare it?
Yeah.
How can we compare it to somebody who, you know, maybe they haven't had their heart broken or their spouse hasn't died or, you know, something horrible and tragic like that, which
because they both had tragic pasts.
Right. And so maybe that's what happens. You know, maybe that's a totally normal reaction. And you know, I'm not a psychologist. But it's definitely interesting, you know, being who we are and going, well, he has no fight in him. But,
what's wrong with him?
Right, but when we're 50,
what do we know?
Maybe that's exactly how we would feel. You know,
it reminds me of that quote from The Perks of Being a Wallflower, where the teacher tells him, we accept the love we think we deserve. And I kind of got that vibe from Billy especially. And then Bella as well, because after they hook up a little bit, she starts feeling guilty about it and thinking about her dead husband and thinking like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm cheating on him. I feel guilty that I caused his death. I feel guilty that I would do this to him. Yeah. So I definitely get that aspect of it, is they both kind of, you know, don't think they deserve someone, let alone someone great that they've known forever that's right here in front of them. But I'm glad, though, that she came at it from that angle as opposed to, we've known each other forever. We've always had a thing for each other, but we married other people and now we can be together. I never like that, because then I'm like, it just sounds like you were half-heartedly going into this other relationship. And
I totally agree with you. That was refreshing. I think something else that I liked about it was just that they were like normal people who worked and had a life, and you know, it wasn't like I'm his secretary kind of that's how we met, you know, like they have completely separate interests, separate lives, separate everything, and they're together because they love each other. It's not because they're in the same vicinity. No. From what I gathered, it seems like this ranch that he owns is like kind of, I mean, it's in the town, but it's kind of, you know, out in the boonies of the town.
I pictured they're the ones that have the ranch where they also are like running the barn that people book for like their rustic weddings.
So it's probably like 10, 15 miles out of town. And she works at a bar, which is like right in the middle of town. Right. And, you know, it's hopping every night. And so they have totally different, just different lives and different interests.
That is nice.
And then, you know, it's also, it kind of deals with that reality of, well, is this really your interest, or was this something you had to do to make money and get by? And now it just kind of appears to be your interest because it's the only thing you could do.
Exactly.
So And I feel that way with Bella, you know, I think she loves her bar and she loves what she does, but if she had had the freedom to do whatever, would she have picked it?
Maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah. We don't know. But,
and they both take a vested interest in each other's lives, too. Like, he helps out. We find out that he's actually, like, really good at cooking. And he wants to be included in more things on the ranch. And, yeah, vice versa. Like, so it really is a nice way that they both kind of take an interest in each other, too.
Yeah. I thought that was really... Overall, I thought it was really cute, that whole aspect.
I did too. Overall, it was a positive experience, I think. However, there are a few things. We already kind of talked about one of them, which was that we were a little confused with, like, some of the, like, timing, backstory stuff. But that's not going to affect, like, the overall story. So I did have a few things, though, that were a little odd to me. In fact, I was like, it's not bad, it's just odd.
Go for it. Okay.
Okay. So the main thing is that, and you mentioned this too before we even started talking about this is part of a Christmas anthology book. And I forgot that this story was taking place at Christmas time. Maybe it's because I'm seasoned on, like, Hallmark movies and, like, there's snow and cookies and house decorating and tree buying in every fucking scene of those movies. Yes. But for this one, I forgot that that's what the time was.
I did too. I totally forgot. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, it would be like... And then we stood and stared at the Christmas lights, and they were so beautiful. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Christmas. And what's funny is I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything about when they're planning this post-wedding reception thing. It's not Christmas themed.
No, there's nothing Christmassy about it.
It's interesting in the synopsis how they're like, oh, this Christmas wedding.
Right.
No, they got married in Vegas, and now Mom's throwing them a party with the locals.
Yeah.
But
it's fine. Like, that, again, this does not really affect the story. No. However, you have this setup. You have it in the synopsis.
That it's a magical Christmas story.
And it's in a book with all Christmas tales.
Right.
But, yeah, I just felt like the Christmas aspect did not deliver. So, like, if you're picking up the story thinking, I'm going to have winter holiday fun, this is not going to give you that.
One. Now, I'm sure some of the other ones in the book are a little more Christmassy.
Yeah,
I can't say, sure. I haven't read them, so I don't know.
Well, you got to get your $6.99 worth.
I know. You know what? I did buy the Kindle edition, so
Perfect.
I could, dive into that.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Everyone will have to listen to find out about the rest.
That's right.
Here was another thing to me, and this one was somewhat problematic for me. I feel like not a lot happens in general.
Yeah, I can agree with you.
but Kate Pearce sets up a few things that could happen, and then I feel like they just don't. And one of them is the Christmas wedding reception.
Right.
Where I'm thinking, okay, you could have had several scenes of them doing this wedding planning thing. Right. And there's a few moments, like, he cooks for her a couple things to try. Oh, yeah,
and then he's like, oh, now look over the menu. Yeah. That's the first time they really hook up, right?
Right, and I'm pretty sure that's the only time they ever really do anything for the wedding. Yeah. Like, most of the time they're just, like, talking about it, like, oh, we should talk about the wedding, or, oh, yeah, we're gonna do that wedding together, but you don't actually see them doing anything.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I just don't understand why it's in the book in general is she has that disgruntled employee that in the beginning...
Axel!
Axel.
Damn, Axel.
But yeah, in the very beginning, it starts where, you know, Billy rolls up to her bar and she has some employee that's like, pay me, bitch! And she's like, no! And he's like about to like throw punches and Billy's like, get out of here! And then you don't really hear anything about that ever again until the very end. Like, her son and Billy are like, well, one of us has to be here to, like, keep an eye on you, make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to turn into, like, a thriller.
Yeah.
No, because then in the end, they're like together and Axel creeps back in ready to steal money again and they catch him. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's done.
Okay, and Kate Pearce brings up pantyhose again.
Yeah!
Because they're like, Billy's like, do you have any rope? And she's like, no, but I have pantyhose.
And we remember pantyhose from Cowboys.
Because who wears pantyhose anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, I have on like...
Well, she's in her 50s.
Still. Like, I'm talking about who, like, in 2018 wears pantyhose anymore, unless you're, like, Hillary Clinton.
Hey, she's a feisty broad, so I feel like she's beyond pantyhose.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I always just pictured pantyhose under those pantsuits.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's interesting, too, because I'm like, also, this is so nitpicky, but I'm like, where is Bella wearing pantyhose to? She works at a bar.
Well, exactly. Like what? Where is she? What is she doing? She's not in, like, corporate America. She's not at Wall Street.
And let's face it, you wear pantyhose once, you rip them, and you throw them away. You do not keep them on hand to tie people up who intrude.
If you're me, they barely make it through one show before I ripped them.
They're gone.
Torn them.
Maybe Bella's like an undercover dancer.
Oh my gosh.
She dances at night in the back of the bar. The back of the bar, behind the curtain. Ooh, like Bella.
Fantasia.
But yeah, those were basically my main things. Is like, there were a couple subplots that could have been subplots.
And really cool subplots.
Yeah, but that we don't really utilize them. So I'm like, okay, it's a lot of like back and forth of like him talking about her talking about him talking about her talking about him, and then them finally hooking up and then kind of backing away again. He talks about her. She talks about him.
Right.
Oh, let's do it.
It made me kind of feel like I was back in high school. Like,
yes.
How much, when you look at those like relationships, and I say that in quotes.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at those relationships from high school and you think, how much of it was actually them together doing something?
Right.
I don't mean doing something sexually. I just mean like how much of your memory of that was them together.
Yeah. As opposed to like talking about it with other
friends.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's, you think about like, oh yeah, Jenny talked about this boy for, months, and it's all this, well, should I talk to him? Is that too much?
My favorite
should I do this?
were the people where it'd be like, well, you tell him to tell him that she said this. Okay, and then you go and do it. Okay, she said that the girl said this about you. Okay, go tell her friend to tell her this back. And it's like 3 hours later,
right?
Maybe you've said, hey. Like, and
exactly.
That's it.
And that's what this story kind of reminded me of, which in some ways I thought it was really cute because they are in their 50s.
Yeah.
But in other ways, I'm kind of like, so when someone told me that it's always going to be like high school, they were right.
Yes. Well, and by the end, they get engaged. And so, again, part of you is like, okay, they're at a certain age. They're like, done wasting time fucking around. Like, oh, we love each other. Great, done. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're like, this has been a story about like 2 to 3 weeks in the making, like in this story. Yeah. So that's very fast, especially for us only seeing them talk a lot, So, I mean, it definitely was... The things I liked about it were also some things that I feel like worked against it.
You know what I thought was funny, too? I just thought of this, is they're kids, and a lot of times kids are portrayed as like, Mom, you're dating someone?
Yeah.
You're doing this. Dad, a new mommy, and I know that they're older kids, I know that they're adults, but I love that the people making a big deal about it are Bella and Billy.
Yeah, the kids are like, go for it.
What's the big deal?
Do it.
There's obviously something going on between you two, so just do it.
I know.
The kids are the ones that are like, go, be happy, have fun.
Yeah.
Live the rest of your life.
Same thing about the job stuff. Like, Dad, it's fine for you to be involved in the ranch. This is your ranch. Like, we're not holding things against you. Yeah. So... I mean, you know what it kind of felt like to me was it felt like sometimes authors will write novels and then they'll write like a follow-up novella that's sort of like, oh, and this is like what happened after the story kind of thing. It sort of felt like that to me where it's like, and maybe it is. I mean, maybe she does have a romance novel or two about like the rest of the characters in the story, like the romance between Jay and the woman he married. Maybe that's a book. And then this is like, oh, you remember these characters from that story? Here's like their little story. Yeah. So that's kind of what it felt like to me, was sort of like this addition onto this already constructed story that was probably better as this bigger picture than it was as like this little slice of it. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if that's what it was. If it was, I would be willing to like go and read a little bit more, but
yeah. And you know, what I have learned is that Kate Pearce really likes Vegas. Yeah. And she really likes cowboys. Something about marriage in Vegas and cowboys elsewhere is her thing. Yeah. You know?
No matter if she's writing about 20-somethings or 50-somethings.
That's right.
I have to say, and this is not a diss or a like it's kind of just something to point out. I was really surprised that this was her story compared to the story we've read from her before, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Because when we read that one, that was like some of the most graphic sex scenes. And I mean, they were nutso. I mean, there was tying up. There was the manger. They were watching horses have sex and being like, look at the horse. Do you like that?
Apparently this is Equus.
Yeah, and then this one was not that. I mean, this one was very like, they do have like a little hookup scene. And then when they finally have sex, it's more of like, and then he laid her down and made love to her. Like, it was just very different. I just did not expect that. And granted, I haven't read anything from her, I don't think, in between that spectrum. So it just makes me wonder, like, I wonder if that's where she's going with her romance novels now, is more towards like the softer, sweeter side of things, as opposed to like taking her in the hay, literally. But yeah, so I don't know. It was really interesting to me, just that the evolution of this writer. So
yeah,
there you go.
And I know that was something that I think it was me that said I would love to read something more recent
from her. Yeah.
You know? And I don't know, I can't say that I really loved the way it was written. There was a lot of things like where it would say and stuff.
Oh, really?
Or,
okay.
Yeah, you know, those kinds of things that...
Sure.
And it could just be my academic brain, you know, as, you know...
Teacher mode.
I might be thinking like, oh, you know, why would you write?
You can do better than and stuff.
And I'm not talking about the dialogue she wrote, because characters they're not all going to speak like perfect dictionaries.
Right, of course.
I'm talking about the description, that part of her writing, you know, it would just kind of go, and stuff.
Interesting.
Or something like that. You know, and you're thinking,
Got it.
Well, you're the writer, so
tell me what
stuff?
What like that? Something like what?
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, I understand that this isn't supposed to be a tale of two cities. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, at the same time, you know, it's like, okay, this is supposed to be a fun love story.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. And it's not, like I said, it's not a negative if there's less graphic sex in it. I mean, it's a different story. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, it just, to me, was really interesting. It was definitely a different perspective.
Their intimacy was more realistic.
I thought it was actually pretty hot, considering, and this is going to sound so bad, I don't like to picture people my parents' age having sex, because then I'm going to think of my parents having sex. And that's not something I or most people want to think about. No. And so for their first hookup to be like them making out, him taking her back to his office and him going down on her, I was like, whoa! That is not what I was picturing with this story. You get it, Bella. Like, so since we're on the subject, I might as well read you a little something. This was, they do have a sex scene, but it's not really like, you don't really get that much description from it. So I chose the scene where they have their little hookup in Billy's office.
When they're supposed to be talking about wedding menus.
Yeah, so much for that. I guess he whet her appetite. Ooh. That was on the fly. That wasn't even written down.
So bad it was good. Good job, Kelly.
Yeah, like the poppers on Christmas.
If you picked me up in a bar, I'd probably be like, okay.
Good to know. Good to know. I need to go to more bars, I guess. Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. By the time she opened her eyes again, she was half lying on the couch with Billy almost on top of her. She grabbed his hand and guided it between her legs, and he went still. Okay, you get it. That's good. All right, you put it there. You sure about this? Only if you are, Bella said. No pressure. That's like a recurring thing, I feel like, too, in their sex scenes is, you sure? No pressure. You okay? Do you want to back off? No pressure. Like, okay, that's nice. It's good. Checking in. His half laugh, half groan did nothing to stop her arousal as he palmed her panties, his thumb zeroing in where she wanted it. Her whole body tightened and she shuddered through a climax. Oh, dear Lord! She stared up at Billy, who was looking as startled as she felt. I've never done that before. Yeah? His smile was full of wickedness. Then maybe I'll have to investigate further and make sure you can do it again. He dropped to his knees and kissed his way up past her thighs and... ... and ... Very Mamma Mia.
That's what they used to say in the olden days.
Oh, man. Yeah, and then he goes down on her and, she comes again. I was like, okay, wow, that was quick. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Lucky you having that talent.
Yeah. So surprising. Not what I was expecting. But... okay, nonetheless. Should we wrap things up and give our darling Kate Pearce a grade on her novella?
Sure.
Okay, so you know the drill. We grade for story, syntax, and sexcapades. So let's start with story. What do you think out of 10?
Story. Well, I guess maybe like a 6 or so.
A 6 or so. I actually put 6/7.
Okay.
So I feel like we are in the 6 or so category.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we both agree it was because we were kind of expecting other things to happen that just didn't.
And that could be our own bias.
Yeah. Like, Kate, we wanted you to write this book, but you didn't, so we're grading you down.
Sorry, Kate.
It's okay. And then syntax. So Miss Pearce's writing.
I wasn't crazy about the descriptive parts, but I think some of their dialogue was good.
Yeah.
The only dialogue I wasn't really into was when they kept saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah, which definitely happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'd probably rate it around the same, like maybe like 5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8.
Really?
I did. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it just didn't stand out to me as much with like some of the descriptions you were talking about. I guess because that wasn't something I thought about. Like for me, I just graded it down because I felt like there was a lot of repetition. But I really do like her tone. I like her tone a lot.
I have to say, I love the tone. I think what was hard for me is I think I'm a very visual person. Mm-hmm. So when there's descriptions like, and stuff, or ...
right,
or this and that, I feel like I need the words to make the
it's just not painting a picture for you.
Because I know that reading involves a certain amount of creativity. Because of course it does. You're not seeing it with your own eyes. You're not hearing it. You're just reading the words. Right. But what I was finding was I would be creative with what I thought was going on. And then I'd keep reading. And then I'd realize that my vision of what was happening was not correct.
That's actually a good point, though.
So that's really the only reason I made it like...
Because that's kind of how I felt about like their ages and stuff. Is I'd get this vision and then she'd say something else. And I'd be like, oh, that goes against like what I was thinking.
That was really... But I don't want to say that took away from... the positive things that we liked about the story. It was just something for me as a reader.
Distracted you.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
No, that's fair. How about the sexcapades?
I thought they were realistic and loving and adorable.
It was loving. That's the perfect word to describe it to us. Too often it's like fucking or sex. And then this one was very... loving, making love,
right,
being together, like
because Bella even said something about how she's had other boyfriends, but very rarely did it actually lead to sex.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That
that's
a lot
something.
of times she would be intimate and would be close to someone, and that physical part never actually came into it. And so I think that might be part of the awkwardness that we're saying exists.
Absolutely.
When, I mean, they haven't had these relations with another person in decades, and then they're going, oh my God, how do I don't remember
That's
how to...
right. Yeah, it's been a bit.
But then their actual moments of intimacy are, it's like, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah,
you never forget.
You just hop back on. Might take a few tries, but there you go. You still didn't give a grade, though, for Sexcapades.
Oh, I would rate it pretty high, actually. I would think it would be like a 9.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought so, because it was, like I said, it was realistic, and it was loving.
I gave it a 7. Okay. I was like, I think it was, what was there was great.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm always up for a little bit more.
Well, and, again, I'm someone who has read a total of 2 romance.
And this one, but you can, even if you compare
stories.
the sex between, that's a good question. What did you like better between, this is a shorter story with a much more loving, tender sex scene versus Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, where they're like boning on every page of the book, and it's like much more hardcore.
I think Where Have All the Cowboys Gone I think it's a little more interesting, but there would be points where I'd be reading it and I'd be like, I'm a reader and no one knows I'm reading this book, and I feel a little like uncomfortable. I was kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
But I think that this story was a little more talk about things that they're supposed to talk about, but the actual sex was I thought that was very real and special. It wasn't just the carnal urges, it was
especially
a little more...
when you're not doing it on every page, it does seem more special, too, that it's
and
like...
I don't even know if it has to do with the quantity of it. I guess it's just the different characters and the way that they interact with each other, I guess. I liked it. I appreciated I appreciated a lot of parts of it and how real it was.
That's good. Yeah, and they were very different. Like, I don't know if I could say I liked one over the other. Like,
they're just different.
Yeah, like, they're just different situations, different relationships, completely.
That's what I was trying to say. Where Have All the Cowboys Gone was definitely a little more interesting each page, because on every page something
you didn't know what was going to happen.
And this one, so I like different things about the different books. So,
exactly. Yeah.
But if you had taken the 2 pieces, like if you had taken the sex from this book and the story from Where Have All the Cowboys Gone and put them together, that would not make a good book.
No,
so
that would be weird.
I understand why, I get it, but...
I kind of like to, and again, I don't know if what she's writing these days, besides those 2 books on completely opposite ends of the romance spectrum, but I kind of like that she also has diversified. Like, I feel like so many romance novelists will write, specifically historical romance or paranormal romance. And it's the same with screenwriting too. I feel like you get pigeonholed into, this is your genre, and you have to write that and be good at that.
This is your niche, and this is what you're good at, and so you better make 100 of the exact same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like seeing different authors doing different things. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like, I love that.
Absolutely.
So, kudos to you, Kate Pearce. Would you read another Kate Pearce?
Oh, yeah.
We'll always read Kate Pearce. We need to have another podcast that's just Kate Pearce.
I'm always up for Kate Pearce.
Yeah.
So
wonderful.
And her cowboys. Yeah,
I've got to do some Kate Pearce research and see if there are more cowboys to go around.
I love it. I just love being an American and reading a Brits version of cowboys. Like, it makes me so happy.
So good.
I love it.
So good. I will say in this one, I remember in the last one we said that there were certain parts that would stand out to us because we're like, this doesn't sound like somebody American or who's like experienced cowboys.
We did talk about
there wasn't a moment in this one where I was like, she sounds foreign, or you don't know cowboys, like, but yeah, no, it definitely, you can see that she's definitely evolved as a writer and made lots of strides.
Yes.
So good for you, Kate.
Yay, Kate!
Woo, Kate! Okay, so for my last little thing before we do our giveaway and introduce the next day of Boobsmas, I wanted to ask you about something that relates to some of your holidays and Christmas traditions, but this story is called The Unexpected Gift, which I guess is their love, right? Is finding...
I guess so. The proposal maybe is the gift?
Like, they found each other, they have a new lease on life, whatever.
Yeah.
But the whole reason is I wanted to ask you, have you had a unexpected gift that you've received or given? What's been like the most unexpected gift of your past?
Gosh, I'm gonna have to think about that. I love giving gifts. Like, I love wrapping gifts. It's a whole thing.
Oh, and I know because we just did mini Christmas together.
We did.
She's got all her wrapping paper with animals on it.
I love wrapping paper. It's horrible. I'm obsessed with wrapping
paper. So yours would probably be like a gift you've given then, maybe?
I guess so. I mean, okay, so I'm gonna maybe spill this one because I doubt my mom's gonna listen to this.
Okay, good.
So this year for Christmas, you know, my mom, she doesn't need anything, and whenever my sister and I ask her, well, what do you want? What do you want? And she'll go, nothing, I don't need anything.
As moms do.
And as moms do. And I think really what she wants is to spend time with us. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do for Christmas this year is I'm going to make us some shirts, and I'm going to wrap it up in the box, in just a regular box, and put a little card in there that says, for you to wear on, and then whatever date we end up going, but we want to take her to Disneyland.
I love that.
Just surprise her with a little day trip to Disneyland, and, you know, buy her all the Mickey ice cream she wants. And...
I love, too, that it's like two grown women and their mother going to Disneyland. Well, see,
here's the best part is Megan has been in contact with the intern at the place my mom works. Oh. And so she's been... The children are trying to find out if their mom can take off of work.
It's like pulling the kids out of school
to Disneyland, right? So it's been very
I love it.
Just very funny, you know.
So it'll be an unexpected gift for your mom.
It will, yeah. And I mean,
I like that. That's kind of how I'm with you. Is I love giving gifts. I love shopping for gifts, and for me, I find my parents both hard to shop for too.
They're tough. They're very tough, and, you know, because when you ask them, I don't need anything.
Right.
Oh, get me some sweatpants or something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can't buy you another pair of socks. Like, I can only get you so many socks. Right. Like, so, for my dad's birthday, it was either birthday or Father's Day this past year, I got him a gift certificate for him, my mom, and I to go to an escape room.
Oh my gosh, did he love it?
Well, at first he was like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, he had at one point called me like a couple years ago and had gone online when I decided to go on a trip, and I was going to Montreal, and he calls me, he's like, Kelly, there's these rooms you can go escape in Montreal. I'm like, Dad, they have those everywhere. I've been to one. And so I thought he loves mysteries. He loves solving puzzles. Like, we should do this. Yeah. And so we did. And the next unexpected gift is that he loved it so much, he's buying another coupon to give to my mom for Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
Although I don't know if she's going to love it as much, because when we went before, it was a little stressful.
Oh. Oh dear. You know, I've never done an escape room.
We should do it.
Is it fun?
It is fun.
Okay.
It's fun, especially if you have at least a few people. Like, but if you do it I did it with a bridal party too at one point. And so at that point, it's kind of like you all sort of split up in different directions and like, I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. I kind of like it when it's more of just a couple of you, 3 or 4 of you, and you can kind of like process things together. Right.
Well, because if you're all doing your own task, you miss what the other clues were. And
then you're just like, where did you get that? Like, where did that key come from? You know? But yeah, it's fun. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
once again. I mean, I feel like we're going to have to make a tradition out of Kate Pearce books now.
I am so down.
And before we say goodbye to everybody, we've got one last little thing to do, and that is our 10th day of Boobsmas giveaway. And we have selected a blind date with a book for our lucky winner, and this comes from a Twitter contest that we did the last couple days.
How exciting.
And our winner for this giveaway on the 10th day of Boobsmas is the Profess Hers podcast.
Woo!
Yay! Fellow female podcasters.
What?
You would love them too if you haven't listened to them, because they're two female college professors that basically like talk about everything, like politics, film, TV, celebrity trash, but they come at it from like, you know, the world of education, and it's really fun.
Them when I grow up.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Exactly. So congrats to Profess Hers podcast. And you're going to be taking home a blind date with a book, and Michelle's going to read you the little synopsis here so you have a little idea of what you're in for.
Okay, are you ready? What if you accidentally swiped right for your tight-ass boss?
Ooh, I like that you emphasize, instead of like, he's a tight ass, it's like, he's got a tight ass.
Boss!
Ass boss.
Well,
in any case,
you would write that in there unless it was really important.
It's that ass that's tight.
Dat ass.
Dat tight ass. Well, congrats to Profess Hers podcast, and thank you so much again for joining me, Michelle. And thank you again to the fabulous Cooper for the amazing rendition of the 12 Days of Christmas that he has provided us for your entertainment. And without further ado, it's time to introduce a new day. On the 10th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 10 tubes of lube! Take it away, Cooper.
On the 10th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 10 tubes of lube, 9 naughty spankings, 8 rock hard abs, 7 minutes in heaven, 6 billionaires, 5 penis rings, 4 dukes of fucking 3, but